Okay, I didn't do a very good job of the intro last time with Peyton, so I'm going to try to do a little bit better job this time. Welcome. This is Unnamed Fireman's podcast. Basically, you can either say your name or not. That's kind of the nice thing about this, or you can have your face on here or not. You could tell us anything you want to talk about, mainly about the fire service, but I don't really care if you have a rash. But I do care about your life and your story and what's going on with you. I've heard you got an interesting story. You're Brian McRee, right? What do you go by?
Yep.
You got any special names?
No, I can just go by Brian or McRee or.
Just, yeah, love it. Love it. Brian or McRee. And then just kind of introduce yourself if you want. Just kind of throw it out there.
Sure. My name is Brian McRee. I work, and I'm pretty open with everything. My chief's pretty open about what I do, and even when, just because I'm going to say my department name, I'll let you know. Like, even when I asked him one time, I was like, "Hey, do you care?" And he goes, "Don't you work for me?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, then." So, currently, I just recently promoted to training captain for a place called Bullitt County. It's in southeast Georgia, about 50 miles west of Savannah. I've been a career fireman for about 7 years. I think in total with my volunteer time, like 8.5. Pretty heavy into the training training side of the fire service. Even before I got promoted, I think I spent last year. I probably spent 90% of the year at the fire department between 4 recruit schools. I ended up with like 1,300 training hours for the year. Didn't even log half of them. So. That's what I do a lot, man. I when I'm not there, I'm hanging out with my family.
Yeah. So family life. What do you got? What do you got? Wife, kids.
Got a wife and I got 2 kids. I got a almost 6-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh, terrible. That is awful.
I love it. Love it to death. It's
I
the
know.
best thing ever.
It is.
They're
That's perfect age. 6 years old is like the perfect, like excited about everything. Like they're just like, I don't know what kind of religion you are, but the Christmas, they love Christmas,
Yep.
Easter. Oh God.
Yep. He loves it all. We just had Easter and he was so excited for it. So yeah, he's probably one of the realest kids I know.
Boy and girl.
Yep.
Yeah, boy.
Boy and girl. My oldest is a boy. My youngest is a girl.
Nice.
So we're locked in.
Locked up. I
That
love
kid,
it.
yep. That kid will tell you exactly how it is, and it's the funniest thing in the world because he doesn't mean it in any other way other than he tells you how he feels. Like the other night, he told his mom she got 2 thumbs up for cooking dinner. I said, "Dude, I ain't never got 2 thumbs up." He goes, "You should do better." And I went,
Hell yeah.
Don't ask
the
enough.
kid. They'll be
Don't ask-
brutally honest.
You can't
"Don't ask that kid."
You can't argue with that, right?
No, I mean, well, I don't know. You're right, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
My fault. I'll do better next time.
So you're with you said what did you say it was?
Bullock County.
Bullock County.
So it's a combination fire department right now. So we have volunteers and we have career staff.
Nice.
We're about I think it's like 670 square miles. There's a small city in the middle of us that have their own fire department. They have 2 stations that we don't really. We're actually about to commingle with them less because we just took back a 5-mile district from them. And currently we're 3 staff stations, and as of July 1, we'll be 6 staff stations and
Wow,
7
that's
apparatus.
incredible.
What's your staffing?
3-man engines,
Okay.
and about to be a 3-man truck company.
How many engines?
It'll be 6 engines and a truck
Wow.
as of July 1. So that'd be pretty cool.
You gonna run 3 on your truck? You gonna run 4 on the truck?
It's gonna be 3.
3.
Yeah. So, and even then, like, we still need probably 4 or 5 more station staff to even really start to get good fire coverage. I mean, we're getting better. When I started there, and I started in 2020, which was about 6 months after they went career, we were running out of 1 station. We were waiting to get the 6 people so we could split and go single man engines at 2 different stations and split the county in half. So for about 6 months, I was a single man engine. Maybe a little bit longer than that before we decided not to be single man engines anymore, because I don't know if y'all have ever been a single man engine. That is a little terrifying.
It's a little stressful.
Yeah.
Especially at that point, I was probably only about two-ish years into the fire service.
And you've been going strong 8 years.
Yep.
That's awesome. So what sort of training? You say you're the training officer. Like, I always tell officers when they become an officer, make the job yours and make it so that if you leave that job, you have to teach that person, that your successor, you have to teach them at least 3 weeks. Make sure that they, if you don't have to teach the person that's coming in to take over your job, you didn't do a very good job. You just followed the book, right? So that I always, so what is your kind of training niche? What's your thing? I mean, what exactly?
I like basic fireman stuff.
Just basic. Love it.
Just base. And I get it. A lot of people really like tech rescue. They really like ropes. They really like boats. They really like trench stuff.
Gadgets.
And that's really cool. But if you can't throw a ladder and you can't force a door and you can't deploy a crosslay, what real good are you?
True.
Right.
There are three things that will embarrass you and humble you on the fire ground. That's throwing a ladder, forcing a door, and deploying a crosslay. Because everybody's waiting on you to do those three things, and everybody's staring at you. So if you mess up, everybody knows you messed up.
That's true.
I'm not into a lot of fancy things. I get it. There's a lot of cool, hip ways you can do stuff. I really like basic ways of doing stuff because they never fail. It's kind of like vent. You can vent with a chainsaw, and I do vent with a chainsaw, and I teach how to vent with a chainsaw. But you know what never fails? An axe.
Right.
An axe will always work.
So I got a question for you, bro. Like, what got you into the fire service? Why did you become a firefighter? What was it that made you decide, yeah, fire service is my thing?
I had two friends who bothered me until I joined a volunteer department. I joined the Marine Corps Reserves, and I was bumming around and being a cook. And two of my oldest friends in the world were like, "Hey, I think you would like this." And I was like, "Nah, that's dumb. I don't really want to do that." And then they convinced me to do it. And now I love them to death. And they'll tell you the same thing. I am far more into the job than they will ever be in their entire lives.
That's actually a good thing. So we
And
know
that's not
how
to say
long
bad
you've been
about
in
them.
there.
And that's not to say anything bad about them. They're both great.
Yeah.
But I have jumped.
Yeah, but
I
you
jumped full
own
force
your
off
asses.
into it.
Let's be real. So you told us how long you've been in the training position. Been like a week or two now.
Yep.
What was your position before when you came in the fire service? You came in as a fireman, recruit school, whatever. How'd you work your way up to training?
I dedicated like 2 years of just bothering people. So I got in, I was a fireman for my first department, moved up to a driver. I wanted to come a little bit closer to my house because I think I was driving like an hour and a half at that time. So Bullitt County, I'd already tried to volunteer for them. And they kind of tried to get me on full time, and I kind of shoved it off for a second. And then me and that organization kind of fell out. They like knives and backs, and I didn't really like knives and backs. So we kind of drifted apart in that aspect of my life. So I came over here, and we only had firemen. We had firemen and a fire chief. There were no other ranks. We had a training officer who's now my current chief, but we had no other real ranks. And just stayed here for a fireman for a while. And then, to be honest, I didn't see a lot happening, and I really wanted to be able to move in an organization. And at that point, we were 2-man engines. Didn't see a lot of things going in the right direction, so I left for about 10 months. Technically, I left for about 12 weeks, and then I came back part-time. But I left full-time for about 10 months, and I went to a bigger department where I was a backseater on a 4-man engine. Loved it. Loved that department. It's Warner Robins Fire Department. If you ever want to know what true brotherhood looks like, that's about as close as you'll ever get to the definition. Those are some of the most welcoming, stout dudes I've ever met in my entire life, and I still talk to a bunch of them. Like, as soon as I got into the firehouse and they realized I wasn't like anything weird, like welcome arms, like, hey, let's hang out, let's go play paintball.
You weren't a mutt.
Yeah. Like, and they loved it, and that's great. And then still was part time over here. The chief was like, "Hey, we're doing some stuff," and I was like, all right. So I ended up coming back. I think like 6 months after I got back, we got lieutenant spots, and I got promoted. Thankfully they saw it fit to select me as one of the first lieutenants. And then for like the next 2 years, I just spent at that firehouse training. We had a training chief, and I just spent there helping him any way I could. Days off, because my wife works, my kids are in school. So I was going to sit at the house by myself anyway, so I just went to the firehouse and I trained. And I got good at it, and like 2 months ago, we decided to take back a 5-mile district from the city, so we had to hire 37 people, 36 of which are line personnel. One was a training captain. I applied with like 4 or 5 other people, and they selected me and thought I'd do a good job, which is pretty cool of them, considering I've kind of been doing the job for 2 years now.
I love it when I hear the fact that you annexed back. You annexed back some ground from a city.
Yeah.
I love hearing
We
that.
love it too. They're not very happy about it, but
No, they never are, because there goes their revenue, right?
yeah, they're like, it's about the people. I'm like, or is it about the money?
It's always about the money.
Always about the money.
I won't get on here. I didn't get in trouble by my department, but a couple people were like, "Hey, I feel like you got really close to calling us out." I was like, "Well, I didn't really say your name though. I just said a department near me. It just happens to be your department near me."
Right.
That could have been any number of departments I was talking about.
Sure.
So I've heard your story. Actually, I've been to your class, and you have a very unique story. You're fairly young in the fire department,
I am.
but not really at the same time. And you're a younger guy, got a lot of experience, we'll say, but you have a very unique story. And I don't know, man. Would you be willing to share that with us today?
Absolutely. I don't. Yeah, I talk about it pretty much as anybody will let me, just because of what happened, and then what I don't want to ever happen again. And
Okay.
so, I guess I'll just do the story, and then I'll talk about how it turned into whatever, like a little small class that I do for anybody who ever messages me. So in April of 2024, all right. In April of 2024, my older brother passed away in a house fire. And so I got a call one morning. My brother-in-law was like, "Hey, there's a house fire." I'm like, "All right, cool, dude. Like, that's kind of just a general thing of my life. What's up?" And told me it was my brother's house. Told me he didn't make it out. So dropped what I was doing. Got in touch with my sister and my sister-in-law, and we went over there. And then just even before looking at a lot of other stuff, just walking around, something bothered me about, like, the fact that, one, like, I get it. Well, I can't play judgment call if he'd have lived or died. But I saw a lot of things that wouldn't have sat right with me or my department. And then I did a lot more.
I don't want to interrupt,
Nope,
but was this a full-time department or volunteer or a combination?
Combination, okay. But the staff station was 4 miles. I think the response time was like 6 minutes.
Okay.
If that, I'd have to pull up the actual CAD sheet to look at exact times, but I think it was like 6 minutes of a turnout, which is great. I don't get that. And I still do a lot of good shit when I get on scene. But did a lot of digging into it. Got a lot of information from it and realized, like, I did not like anything about it. And then even more so recently, I got even more information about it. They arrived on scene, called it fully involved, and went defensive for 30 minutes. And in their own report, in their own narrative, they say that Central relayed to them that they had an entrapped victim. And then they said when they arrived on scene that it was not safe for the fire department to enter, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. They made no push, no effort. On their own report, they say that they arrived with 3 people. Come to find out, that's a lie. So they falsified a report. They arrived with 1 person and their assistant chief, and their assistant chief screamed at everybody that nobody was allowed inside because it's too unsafe for the fire department to enter. And the only reason I know that is because a good friend of mine runs a class nearby, and he talks about it, and the dude stepped up after the class. He didn't say it in front of people, which is probably good, and kind of explained that to him. And he explained to him that that's still no excuse. And then he called me and he goes, "How do you feel about it?" I said, "Well, I've been a single man engine and gone interior with one other guy. That's still not an excuse to me."
Yep.
Like, you made 0 effort for a life that you just wrote off. So that sparked a whole thing in me. And that same guy who does the class, let me talk to his recruit school about it, and then was like, "Hey, I got this group who'd like to hear your story," and it kind of jumped off from there. And now I talk about what happened with my brother. And like, I mean, when I say like they called it fully involved, his whole bedroom's untouched. I'm in the wrong room. There's a flag in my other room, like a wooden gun safe flag that perfectly fine. I have his passport in my truck. What's a passport made out of? Oh, paper. But that somehow survived a fully involved house. Like, no effort to search, VES. I mean, just 0 real firemanship was done. And it bothered me to no ends. And my family thought, I ask them every day, make sure they're okay with it, because I go around and I talk about it whenever I can. Because I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
There's too many cases of it. And the full thing that I've kind of transitioned into is it talks about 2 other really big ones.
So how far inside? I know this.
20
I've been to
feet.
your course. How
He was
far
20
inside the
feet.
door was he?
He was 20 feet from the front door, underneath a window.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have made a real push, you would have found him pretty quickly. He went back inside. Unfortunately for his dogs, I hate that. We preach it all the time, but it happens more often than not that people go back in for dogs or valuables or whatever. And he was still on the phone with 911. The phone disconnected. Fire department arrived about a minute or 30 seconds later, and they called it a fully involved house and went immediately defensive.
So, is there any video or pictures of pre-arrival or on-scene pictures, anything like that, to kind of start to a little bit verify what they were talking about?
I have tons of the house,
right?
But it's after the fact.
Right.
But even still, looking at after the fact pictures, I mean, there's untouched room. There's like his whole bedroom was untouched. There was very little damage to another adjacent bedroom to his. The most heavily damaged was what looks like what the fire department did when they just dumped thousands of gallons of water through a window and hooked every piece of ceiling out of the place. And then what the fire did on the back porch.
And so
I've actually seen, because I was in your class, and I was very emotional after listening to it. But I've actually seen the photos, and as a fireman, or even just a human being, father, I was blown away at the lack of enthusiasm, we'll say, to make something happen. Instead of being a yard breather or whatever, I mean, there's no excuse in my book. So, just my personal opinion, after going through your class, and seeing the pictures, makes no sense.
well, I think it boils down to, regardless of policy, regardless of SOG, we're all human. We all got into this position to do just that, save lives, right? So it becomes, I've always said, and I even teach this at our station, it's like, I'm going to write you up for doing something unsafe, but it's only because I have to, which is the saddest thing ever. So, like, it comes down to, if I show up on scene as an IC and I've got somebody inside that I can go in and possibly rescue, I'm doing it, whether it has anything to do with policy or nothing. I'll get fired over it. Like you risk a lot to save a lot,
To
right?
save a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's difficult to, and it sucks that this happened, you know. And I'm glad that, you know, that it is presentations. It sounds like you got a really good presentation, because I've heard several people talk about it. So you know, it's awesome that you. It's not awesome. That's not the word I mean. But it's awesome that
Trust
you're
me,
willing to
it's
go
weird
out.
to say.
Yeah. So it's really awesome that you're willing to go out and discuss your story, which is amazing. Yeah.
I don't remember. I wish I could, but there was a speaker. I believe I want to say it was like an FDIC's keynote, but he was talking about, you know, losing lives in fires and how it's kind of almost a footnote in what we do, and how long it's going to take before it happens to someone in the fire service, and we start pushing back on these departments, because it's not. He's not the only one.
Right.
I can think of two others right off the top of my head, only because I talk about the two others. And I don't bash the departments, and I won't bash in my own private life. I might, but like I'll never say their name. I'll never say the department name out loud. Even when I do my class, I don't say the department name out loud. I don't say the other two departments that I talk about out loud, because I'm not so much as a to bash the department, because they could change policy. Some of them it's probably doubtful. They should, but it's doubtful, because a lot of those guys don't see it as anything they've done wrong. They see it as, well, we tried, and another pat on the back, and they just move on with their lives because it's a footnote to them.
That's sort of sad.
Bullshit.
It's sad.
It's very sad.
And it's all bureaucracy coming from above. And we've taught these folks, you know, that, you know, make yourself safe first, which is bullshit when you actually have somebody that's dying in front of you.
If you train,
that we've all taken is them before us.
Right.
Yet now it's policy, procedure. Oh, we don't want to pay for that. We don't pay for that. So guess what? It's us before them. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
you should train to a level that you feel safe on the fire ground. If you feel unsafe on the fire ground in any means whatsoever, it's because your training has failed you and you have failed yourself.
Yeah.
I'm able to do things on the fire ground because I trained so much. And it chaps a lot of people. It chaps a lot of people in my own department of the things that I do. Workouts, training, how hard I am on some people about stuff. But it's because I truly, truly care about the citizens that I serve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about.
I blatantly, one of my recruits, I mean, he was just trying to be funny because, you know, obviously they're just, most of them are young kids, but he made a joke. I was like, how many people are in the house? And they're like, I don't know. I was like, 75. Because if you look for 75 people and you find nobody, well, you looked very hard. But if you find someone, cool, go back in and find another one. And he made a joke, and I don't remember what it was, but I don't really joke about missing victims because of just what I experienced personally. And I let them all know. I was like, if you ever shy away from searching a house or going for a victim, I promise you, I'll run you out of this freaking department, and I'll run you out of this fire service in this freaking area. I was like, I know enough people in enough good positions that you will never find a job in this freaking area if you shy away from a victim. I was like, you might find yourself in some backwoods piece of shit department, but you won't find yourself in a good one.
No, right. No doubt, and they shouldn't.
I was going to say, sounds like that's probably where they need to be, regardless. I do find, and I've had this situation where you set up a training and they miss a victim, and there's nothing that pisses me off worse when they miss a full-blown dummy that they've seen 1,000 times, and you're like, okay. Then they're like, primary all clear. I'm like, no, it's not. What's wrong with you? Get back in there and find that fucking dog. You know? But, yeah.
Well, I think part of the... Sorry, bro, but I think part of the problem is, one of the things we run into in training, and, you know, you being an assistant chief and McRee, you're training cap, but I think one of the things that we miss a lot of times, and I don't know the answer to this, but we all train whatever our training tower or training facility is. We know that facility. Very rarely does it get changed very much. blah, 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 we're going to training, we got to get our T1 or T2, whatever. And I think that kind of consistent training doesn't do us right in a live kind of situation. So I think that's part of the issue. I think we need to move shit around more. I think we need to be more aggressive in how we do our training and our towers or facilities
Yeah.
or whatever. But and help, you know what? Maybe put a live victim in there. Smoke the shit out. I mean, obviously, even in a fire controlled situation, we can have guys breathing there. If we're gonna do a rescue, why am I doing a 185-pound dummy? Why am I not doing a 250-pound fireman fully wrapped out? You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think we get to that part of training that we just don't. It's not believable, and so kind of like fire pallets. Let's go in and okay, well, don't wet it down. No, mofo. If I go in, I'm spraying the shit out of stuff, and I'm going to the seat of the fire. You we're teaching recruits, hit it once, hit it, okay, that's good. We don't want to wet it out. So they come out
No,
in the
I
field and
got
they're
I
like, they
got
don't
a
know.
I have a almost unlimited supply of pallets. Put it out, and I have a torch and 1,800 more pallets that I will gladly load
But how
a closet back
often
down.
has that been in your career? How often, and Rusty, how often has that been in your career in
Oh
training
yeah.
that you guys have had that happen?
Yeah.
Like, don't put it all out because it's going to be a pain in the ass to restart,
Yeah.
right?
They're not wrong.
I mean, I
Sometimes.
No,
agree, but I mean, at
right.
the end of the
But
day,
that's what we teach.
Yeah.
So, what are these new recruits when you go and put them on the nozzle and you're backing them up? What do? They're just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, mofo. It's hot as shit in here. Put this fire out.
Yeah.
Quit pulling the knot, quit hitting it back and forth. Put it out. Flow the water.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the issue that we run into.
We had a trooper. So I think there's 2 points here that I'm thinking here is so we have to get uncomfortable. We have to get
yes,
to a level where our uncomfortableness is comfortable. And then if you're comfortable, it's like working out, your muscles, once they get comfortable, you got to get them uncomfortable again. So you got to change your workouts. It's the same thing with training. If you get uncomfortable or you get comfortable in what you're doing, move on to doing something else, make it harder, make it more worth it. So I was also thinking about, like, you talk about training and how, train our comfort training can affect us. We had a trooper here that got shot and killed on a traffic stop, and we watched it is a video online we watched, and we were all sad about it, obviously, but the guy pulls a gun out of his truck, he's literally telling the guy, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, and then the cop proceeds to, in his mind, he's saying the word shoot, 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 instead of pulling the trigger. He's just saying shoot, 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 and he got killed, and that got him killed because his training, every time he went to do a tactical training, it was shoot, 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 shoot. And so I think that's kind of the same situation. It's where we train the comfort level, and
Absolutely.
we need to get uncomfortable.
We talk about that. My training chief harps on that a little bit, where the FBI used to train to, when you shot, lean out and pick up your brass. Well, everybody who kept doing that was shooting, and then it got into real situations where they would shoot around a corner, lean out, try to pick up their brass because it was muscle memory, and get popped in the head.
I think 90% of our job is muscle memory, right? And I think if we're doing these little stupid things that are causing that muscle memory to happen, we're screwed. It's gonna hurt us.
It's kind of like where everybody talks about, like if you look at a lot of NOS reports, they're missing something. They're missing a glove, a helmet, a hood, a mask, whatever. Can't prove it, but I believe a lot of that is accredited to when you get in training, when you get uncomfortable. You know, everybody comes out, runs up. Oh man, let me get this stuff off you. Da da da. Let me rip your mask off. Let me take your gloves off. You know, I know you're hot. Instead of just sitting there and just sucking for another 5 minutes in hot gear,
Envelop
just
yourself.
chill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just relax. Be able to go. Okay, cool. We talk about Lagrange Fire, which is on the west side of Georgia. They had like their first near miss, like 10 years ago. And it changed the way their department does it. They have a whole class on UL. I highly recommend it. It is great because 3 out of 4 of the guys sit there and tell you about their experiences and how they feel about it all, because they're all still alive because of their training. One of them will literally tell you that he had the urge to take his gloves off while he was in this fire because they hurt so bad. Because in his mind, it wasn't the fire that was hurting his hands; it was his gloves.
Yeah.
So he had to fight the urge to take his gloves off, and if he'd taken his gloves off, he'd have died.
Yeah.
Because he lost feeling in his hands, he couldn't move them anymore. So thankfully, he had parachute straps because he could lift up on it. And he had to go out through a bathroom window that was 12 inches wide and however long. And if he'd have lost his hands, he'd have been done for.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's it's similar to it's similar to the. I just lost my train of thought. I was like, now I've lost it. All I can see is this red thing.
The cherry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
All good. Terrible.
I'm single, so yeah, I'll look for that. But no, I'm just kidding. So
quit that habit 2 years ago.
Yeah, right. So I got a question for you, bro.
Yeah.
So, when you started in the fire service, what did you think from a standpoint of your oath? Did you think more safety? Did you think the citizens? Did you think, whatever? And then after what happened with your brother, what do you think now? Like, what is your feeling prior to and then after the incident that happened with your brother?
My feeling prior to is honestly, I was a terrible fireman. I had a job, and that was it. Didn't care about a whole lot else until I moved to my current department. Nothing bad towards my first department. It just that the culture wasn't very oriented towards anything really, because they didn't run a lot of fires. And I was there 2 years, and we ran maybe one structure fire, if I can think. And it was within my first couple weeks of being there, and then we didn't run a single other one for the next 2 years I was there.
How'd that fire go?
I was there I wasn't even certified yet because they hired me before I was done with my Fire 1. So they stuck an uncertified, untrained person on the pump panel and said, "Hey, just stand here."
Wow.
So I couldn't even tell you how that went, because that's where I got stuck without even a Fire 1 cert. Go, "Hey, just don't move. Watch these gauges." And then they left. And I was like, what am I watching for? And that's kind of how that went. And then I moved to my current department, and I got paired up for a while with who is my current training chief. And he drastically shifted my perception and view of the fire service to a more of a them mentality. Obviously, you get into it because you want to help people. Or at least that's what everybody says.
That's what they say in the interview. Yeah.
Yep. And he drastically shifted my point of view to be a lot more aggressive in what I was doing and why our job mattered. And even so much more of why, everybody, obviously, everybody just whatever, it's just stuff. But even towards shifting it away from thinking about it just being stuff to there are things that you can't replace in people's houses. How he fought a fire in his younger days where all they saved was a wooden box. And that was every family heirloom that lady ever had. And just this whole aggressive mindset that I've developed, and then it developed. I went to another department that was also really aggressive. I was thankful I got selected, and I attended the Georgia Smoke Diver program, and I graduated. And that's
a tough program.
That's a fun program.
What's your
And
number?
1169.
Nice.
Yeah, right. I'm still a child about it. 69. But
I didn't even
that even
get that.
shifted. Yeah, that even shifted me
I'm gonna
further
let that
towards.
slide.
Yeah, that even shifted me further towards an aggressive mentality. And then, you know, I was pushing hard on aggressive mindsets and trying to do what I could. And then April 8th, it killed me that I still loved this service so much. And then the one time I guess my family needed it, like, just went to fucking shit. So now it's just an even harder push, and I had to dial it back some because it went very far to maybe a more of a dangerous spot. I can look back at some of my old helmet cam footages and going, maybe shouldn't have stood there. But it's still a very aggressive mentality of, I don't care if you are 100% certain that no one's in that house. I'm going in that house to find out for myself.
That's our job.
Like, and I don't care if I went in there and found out that nobody's in there. I'm still going to put the fire out as fast and as efficiently as possible because there are things that you probably still want in your house. That is from when I turned 18 and graduated high school. My mom bought it for me. It is my family crest. Will never be replaced. There are 2 flags in my house. One was flown in Afghanistan on my 18th birthday. One was flown over the Capitol the day my son was born. Neither one of those things will ever be replaced. So I'm all here for life, but at the end of the day, I also would like to try to save a house and save property. Because, I mean, it is in the mission of the fire service. It's in all of our missions. And it's,
100%.
Life safety, property conservation, environmental conservation.
So, how rigorous? I mean, so you're the new training guy at your department.
Yep.
So, how rigorous? I mean, do you see yourself hitting boots on the ground, going hard, or are you going to kind of kid glove into it? Like, what are your thoughts? You're not going to kid glove. You're going to go for it.
No, I don't kid glove anything.
Yeah.
You're either here or you're not.
Right.
And I told one dude the other day, we were doing our O course, and he like took a knee and kind of curled up, and I said, hey, dude, you got 2 options right now. You can get the hell up and we can finish this up, or Chief Sykes is in there right now and you can go tell him you fucking quit. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's all you got. There ain't a third option in this life.
Yeah.
So our training program is the same thing it's been for. So we did our first recruit school in 2021. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Week 1, you PT and I would say PT clothes, but my training chief is very we PT in our station uniform, like pants, t-shirt, boots. We do up downs, mountain climbers, push-ups, jumping jacks, and we hold our arms out straight and do little circles. And then we go straight to an O course, which is a tire drag, drive, equipment carry, tire flip, a hose crawl, a hose advancement, a confined space barrel, forcing a door, searching a building, a window bailout.
You're making me want to go to the gym, dude. Stop.
A ladder carry, and then 25 pike pole pulls, which is like 70 pounds. And that's how you start your day every day. So after week 1, we move into, which we're in week 2 right now, so we move into coat and pants and a mask and a helmet. And then you run your O course in full gear. And then week 3, we're in full gear the entire morning. PT is still the same, and it's done in coat, pants, helmet, gloves, Nomex, hood, mask, and an SCBA. The only thing we're not doing is breathing air. And then once we transition to the O course, you kick your bottle on and you click in and you go.
Yeah.
And that's how they start their day every morning for 14 weeks.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So, and kind of going back to we were talking about sort of training and sort of levels of training. And I always get this for officers anyway, and I know that it's on ourselves. Like, we just need to get out there, get it done, go train, even if it's by ourselves. Right. And I have a tough time doing that. Sometimes I need to get out and do that. But I find that, like, when it comes to, I know the basics is huge, right? But we sort of plateau with knowledge as an officer, right? And I don't know where you guys are at. I think we can always learn, but we sort of, I think we end up starting to plateau with our knowledge, which ends up making us start to teach more, you know? So
I don't think there's a plateau. I think there's conferences
so?
you can go to and always pick something else new up.
Sure. Well, and
Because
I think
there's a million places you can go and learn new things and then
Sure.
bring those things back. Like I went to Oath Keepers up in Ohio. Highly recommend. And they do live fire layout. I've never done that in my life, never seen it before. And now I brought that back, and when we pop a door, we do live fire layout, which is just laying on the ground, calling fire department, looking for the fire in the layout of the room, and then looking for victims.
So you're just search. You're just in a rescue situation. You're not bringing a hose with you at all. I'm just trying to understand that.
Oh, in that moment, I think that's just whatever you do when you pop in a door, like if you're waiting on somebody.
Gotcha. Okay. I completely agree with you, but what I mean is I think a lot of officers end up plateauing, or and they're like, okay, this is where we're at. Let's go grab a mop and clean something. So I think we could do better as officers or as firefighters as just doing that. I remember when I joined the service, it was like, and I'm sure you guys were the same way. It's like, I want to fucking know every single thing about the truck. I want to know every single thing about my gear. I want to know every single thing about making entry, like every single thing. And then I plateaued a lot, so and it's nice to hear, your story and your thought process on it, because it's like, there's always room for improvement, always room to learn. I think it's a great mindset. So
I think it's nice. Like a lot of officers don't get out and do stuff. They're more of like, I guess a leader, a boss, and they are a leader. They're like, hey, get out and go throw that ladder.
Yeah.
A lot of our officers are like, hey, let's go throw ladders, and they're full gear with you throwing ladders. And that's a big thing in our recruit schools is I'm not immune to the work. Like, we're PT in the morning. Like one of them made a comment to one of my firemen, because they told me afterwards, because we do it all at a station, because we don't have we're still a young department. So one of our stations is where I train at. And I guess one of them made a comment to one of my firemen, like, oh, well, he's got a PT with us, so it can't be that bad. I don't look like I'm in the best shape in my life, but I have made sure that they have regretted that statement for the last 2 weeks.
I think I can take you.
You might think you're in good shape, but then we start adding in code, and I can just sit there and go because I have developed and I'm not the baddest dude who's ever walked the earth. I'm not in the best physical shape, but I have developed a good physical shape for the fire service, and I am probably a little dumb to where I can push myself to limits that you probably won't want to.
Well, and how long were you in the military, you say?
6 years.
You're
6 years active.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you? You're not still, or you still are?
No, I'm done.
Okay. That is we got a couple of guys in the service, and they're military, and those guys can fucking go. We had a guy from the Army, and we do a pack test every year for wildland, and that guy looks like he is just he looks out of shape, but that son of a bitch can just go. Just goes.
Those are my favorite people.
Right? And then, I got a couple other guys that are the same way. All of them are from the military. It's like, whatever they trained you in the military, we got to figure that out.
Makes you dumb. They make you dumb.
They make you dumb. They
make you dumb. They make you immune to quitting.
Right. And they don't.
I was in the military, but I'm dumb. So,
And you don't have to be in the military to be like that, because like my driver's like that, or my old driver, he actually took my spot on the engine and got promoted to lieutenant. But like, I used to be able to look at that dude and like, hey, you want to do something? And he goes, I guess. And I was like, you want to go carry a ladder for a mile, and every time we put it down, we just have to do 10 up downs? And he goes, I guess. And we'll grab 24-foot extension ladders, and we walked for a mile.
I guess I'm going to appease this guy.
Like, he's awesome, man.
Well, here's
the thing. I think a lot of people got it wrong about me, is they would think if you worked on my shift, I was going to force you to do my workouts, and my workouts can be on the extremer side sometimes. I do light stuff, but I've also I've done some crazier things on shift that I probably shouldn't have. But the thing is, like, you don't have to work out with me. You don't have to do anything with me. But what you will do is you will get out there and you will do something.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. You could walk a mile on the treadmill. But if I'm out there for an hour, guess what? You ain't inside on the recliner.
Yeah.
Nice.
I always thought.
And matter of fact, if you don't want to work out, cool. There's other ways to get physical fitness in. It's we can throw ladders for an hour. We can go search for an hour. We can force doors for an hour. The workouts are the easy part.
Yeah.
Everything else is what I make difficult.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, I went for a long time there, and I was doing 2-a-days, and I thought, oh, they'll fall in line with me. They'll come, they'll come play with me. Not one of them came out and played with me. But
I had a lot of people, man. They always, I don't know, and again, like, there's a lot who would never come out with me, but there's a lot, man. When they would work with me, and I had vacancies a lot. Just due to a growing department, but like people who picked up with me, I guess they knew what they wanted to do. So when they would pick up, they'd come out and they'd work out with me, and again, if you can't do pull-ups, cool, man. We'll do bodyweight rows or whatever. Like, we'll do something besides pull-ups. Or I have 17 bands on that pull-up bar. Like, we'll make it to where you're only pulling like 12 pounds of your own body weight. Like, I don't care what it takes. We're gonna do something together.
Get your ass off the recliner in the day room, gosh dang.
It was a well-known thing, like 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Sometimes even on the weekends, depending on how salty I was feeling. We weren't inside. We weren't going to be inside.
Yeah.
We were going to be outside training or doing other things other than sitting in a recliner and collecting dust.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Now, that's a good thing, because we're here for them, not for us.
Yeah. Like, I'm not here to... I hate the stereotypical, like, the driver doesn't have to do anything. On my fire ground, he does. My driver's a working driver. Like, we were a 3-man engine with the next engine possibly 15 minutes out. Guess what, dog? You're getting geared up, and you're my third man.
Yeah.
You might not be full off into the house, but like, you gonna throw some ladders and you gonna do some work. So I'm gonna need you to be in some shape.
You're humping hose.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good.
No, go ahead, Rusty.
So I was just going to say, you've got this story that you tell quite a bit, and it sounds like you're kind of going out to different. So you're taking that story to different departments. Is it a presentation? I know he said that,
it's a whole presentation. I mean, the guy who originally let me do it or let me talk to his recruit school, helped me develop it into a full blown like class with like lessons of what I think should have been done better, things that we can all do better, things that we can all control. Like I said, like I talk about my brother. I talk about statistics of like the fact that, they say like 100 firefighters a year die. That statistic actually gone down. It's actually like roughly in the 90s. However, civilian deaths and fires in the upper thousands, actually upper couple thousands. So how are we saying that, we're trying to be safer, but they're all, their numbers quadruple ours.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about that. And then I talk about a situation that happened in northern Florida where a woman died on the phone with 911 while the fire department was on scene. Central Florida, northern Ohio, where a mom and a daughter died in a room that was untouched by fire, and they died of smoke because the fire department refused to go inside, even though the son and the neighbor told them exactly where they were, and you could hear them screaming on the 911 call.
I feel like these guys are shirt wearers. They're just going to get the shirt.
That's all they
are. Yeah, that's crazy.
That is all they are. And then I talk about what happened to my brother, and then I do and like all of them are overview, or like little like summaries, and then I do a really deep dive into my brother's incident, and then I tell you it was my brother because, like, you can obviously go like, oh, maybe that guy looks alike to him, but why? Honestly, it happened in Central Georgia. I work in Central or Southeast Georgia, so they could very well think it's my fuck up, which is cool because I kind of like it. I kind of like it to feel like that sometimes. And then I just go into, hey, it was actually, you might think I'm talking shit, but this was my family, my brother. And then I go into we talk about response times, fireground activities, training, and even report writing, because the report pisses me off so much because it was a paragraph. And apparently a paragraph of lies, which was super cool to find out very recently. So
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a shitty report, especially. So I've been a fire investigator for about 12 years, and there's nothing worse than a terrible report.
like it literally says like arrived on scene, went defensive, knocked fire out, let it be deemed safe for us to enter. Unfortunately, found the victim unalive, deceased in the kitchen area. Turned scene over to SO, and I'm like, it's a paragraph of
Wow.
a structure fire and a death.
And
with a
And I'm like,
fatality.
this is embarrassing. I write better narratives for freaking bullshit toe pain.
so was there
Yeah,
any,
exactly.
which are the worst too, right? So was there? Did they have mutual aid come in? I know you said something
Yeah.
about they had. Was that you said they had a staffed engine, or they could have had? There was
They
only
had a staff engine on the way. The staff engine was the first one that arrived. It was a single dude. He arrived with his assistant chief, and then two volunteers showed up, and then another engine showed up. So within like 5 minutes, they had about 6 people on scene.
Oh wow! So they could have made something happen.
They could have at least.
But
And I'm
didn't
not
the chief
naive.
say
Um,
like,
yeah.
"No, this is defensive" or something like
Yep.
that?
So I'm not a naive person. I'm not a dumb person. Like I am an angry sibling. I couldn't tell you if he'd have lived or died, just because it's not really for me to decide in life. But I can tell you they didn't give him any amount of opportunity or chance,
At all.
which is what kills me.
Yeah.
Because what else are we here for?
Right.
The fire's going to go out by itself.
Eventually,
Regardless of if we make interaction with it or not, that fire will go out by itself. We can go back to the old school days where we just protect the structures next to it. If we're not here for people and for life, what are we doing with our life? What are we doing?
Right. That's a good point.
not our job.
Like that's the outside of life safety, like there ain't no other reason to do this dumb job.
Right.
Well,
Ain't nothing about it safe. Ain't nothing about it healthy for you. One of my
thing I've
recruits made a
said,
joke to me today about how like Girl Scout cookies are bad for you, and I say, dude, you're in the fire service. You're 5 times more likely to get cancer. You think I care about what's in a Girl Scout cookie? Hell no. I might go to school. I might go to the store afterwards and buy some. Like I'm here to live life, baby.
Yeah.
well, and Rusty and I have talked about this in the standpoint of, I don't know where it came in, and the quote unquote safety culture where it became us over them, but I know
Isn't
I
it
took a
crazy that
note
we don't know
that
where the
it
shift
was
happened?
them over us.
Isn't it crazy that no one knows where that shift happened, but it just happened randomly of
We've had our theories.
all these guys just come in and they're just like, oh, we can't go in there. It's unsafe for us. I'm like, dude, I got thousands of dollars worth of equipment, hundreds of hours worth of training, water, a truck, all this shit that says I can go inside.
100%.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if you train good enough, you understand like your gear will take a beating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that this has happened, but I'm going to, I have a scene where where somebody has stepped into a room and walked out and their arm was off gassing in their turnout gear
My son.
and didn't feel a thing about it. So how hot is it for your turnout gear to off gas? But somehow this idea of we got to be safe. Our equipment is so good now. We're so unsafe for people. We can dive off into fires without feeling it because we used to use our ears because our hoods were thinner and our ears would tell us that our mask was going to fail because our mask was rated at a lower temperature. That our hoods are so great and our masks are so great now, we can get so far into trouble and ignore what civilians are feeling that I've heard of dudes who are going away from the particulate hoods now because they want to be able to feel the heat on their ears.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard of dudes fighting fire, missing a glove. Like they'll go into fires, and I don't recommend this, but they go into fires with their left hand tucked into their coat pocket. And when that hand gets hot, guess what they do? They open up a damn nozzle because guess who else feels that heat? Anybody who's inside besides us.
It's true.
Right.
I don't recommend the glove thing. So, but I mean that's not a bad mentality to have.
Well,
Like
that's
like someone who's doing that is truly here for the people.
yeah, for sure.
And we all should be.
It's just not. That's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, you're always going to
No.
have these offshoot departments or these departments that are there for the shirt, and you're just going to have that, and it's unfortunate.
Well, you have it. I mean, you're going to have it in other departments as well. I mean, I used to see this thing. You had owners, renters, and buyers, or owners, renters, and squatters. Owners take full responsibility. They try to fix everything they can. They put everything they can into a house. Renters, they'll fix here and there, and they're kind of here for that. And then there's the squatters who are just eating up space. And you have squatters in every single department.
Yeah.
For as aggressive and as I feel like as forward as my chiefs are, like even in my own department, there are dudes who are like, they're definitely here for t-shirts.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing they can do about it because, I mean, technically they're still doing the job, so you can't fire them.
They're checking the boxes for sure.
Yep.
It sucks.
What's crazy is one of them gets so upset because all he does is check the bare minimum box and then thinks he deserves promotions because he's been here the longest.
That's the worst.
Fuck you, dude. I don't care if you've been here 20 years. You deserve nothing because of time and grade.
Right.
Right.
I'm not a big
You
fan.
spent the last 5 years being a shitbag, but all of a sudden a promotion comes about and you think you deserve it. Get out of here.
Yeah. Time served
Right.
does not make a good firefighter. That's why the court system went away from a lot of that time served stuff just because it doesn't work. I mean, you have such different levels of service from in an area where you guys are, or area where I am. We have 26 departments in our county. And so
Oh, wow.
And it's just different in every department because they make it their own little empire. And so
Yeah.
we go to mutual aid and it's like, and I did a TikTok about this, is how comfortable are you with your mutual aid partners? And I don't know how well you guys are with your mutual aid, but I'm not comfortable with all of our mutual aid people because I don't know what I'm going to get. There's been times I've gotten like 6 cadets under 18 and they're slapping them on the back to go inside. And I'm like, I'm not, I got other guys that can do that. Go get me something, give me some coffee or something, like not to be a dick, but I know that's the time to learn.
Right.
But you're a cadet and my insurance says you can't go inside. Sorry.
Right.
Thankfully, when I was on shift, my shift at my automatic aid department was stout.
And that's
Their other shift, questionable. My shift for sure, I knew those dudes were kicking indoors.
Yeah. So how being the training officer, do you guys try to, with ISO, are you training accordingly with ISO?
Like the hours?
Yeah, hours, yeah.
Yeah, we do the ISO hours.
You get them all?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We make it a big point. Well, our commissioners really like ISO, and it's a big selling point, and I get it. It's a good selling point when you're trying to raise fire taxes, fire fees.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's good to get them all because I mean, as long as you're getting quality hours, like if you're bullshitting pencil whipping them, which a lot of people do anyways.
They do, yeah, 100%.
But I mean, you need 192 company hours, you need 18 facility, you need 6 hazmat, 12 officer, and 12 driver. Like if you do all that, like that's a stout year.
Yeah.
And that's good. Like you've done a lot of work. So because otherwise my state only requires you to have 24.
Really?
Well, and
So
we have
would
to
I-
do in
would
my
I take-
county.
Would I take 24 or 224, Or 228?
We got to do 228. So, like I've already got this year, I've already got all my T1 done, going into T2, whatever. Classes going into that. We just did 5 hours of extrication last shift. And I was pretty much, and some of the full stuff goes to it because it doesn't matter if I'm doing it or being an instructor, that goes to it. And then I've got to, by March next year, I've got to do all my EMT. I'm just an I, so EMTI. I have to do all that, which is separate from my fire training. So I got to do
What's an
228.
EMT? Is that like an EMR but lamer?
It's pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty low. It's pretty
So
low.
I'm an EMTI. We don't even exist anymore. We're not National Registry cool with the EMTA,
I am an
but
EMR.
Oof.
you're EMR.
My
So they
department
don't.
requires EMR.
Wow.
So
Take me with
our
you.
department now you have to be like prior to how I got hired on, you had to have an EMTI or higher. We've got several EMRs left that were grandfathered in, but now it's EMTA. It's all freaking National Registry making money, whatever
Yeah.
bullshit. But
Oh.
yeah, so yeah, in my department, you have to be EMTA or paramedic to get hired on. If not, we put you through EMTA.
My county also has a county funded EMS service. So
County
and they
funded.
ride out of county funded.
Wow.
They are under the Bullitt County Emergency Management System as well. They staff the same stations we do.
Oh,
They don't have to fight fire. I don't have to ride an ambulance. We are two separate departments.
you love it.
We live under the same, but we still run every medical call. So
But we run medical and we have a due system priority dispatch, but we do not transport in my department.
the EMS transports, I don't.
No,
Occasionally, like
we don't transport at all in our department. But we have priority dispatch, Alpha, Bravo, Delta, Echo, whatever.
Oh, you guys do that
And
still.
yeah, well, we just started going to it.
Oh,
We
let's do
have
everything.
a new program that's all automated dispatch.
wow.
Our system, we have graduated tones at night, amber light, all this
Yeah.
BS.
Oh, yeah, we just got
But
tones.
yeah, we don't transport, which is
Well,
awesome.
tell us you're cool without telling us you're cool. That's great.
Uh,
We
I
transport.
drive
We
an
don't
ambulance
transport.
sometimes.
I know
like,
you hate me for that, Rusty.
We transport.
there'll be times that I've driven an ambulance because the EMS crew they'll have like a cardiac arrest or whatever, and they'll be like, "Hey, can you drive?" Like, absolutely, dude. I'll
We're
drive
not
you in.
even allowed to.
And my battalion chief comes because it's county funded, so it's under the same insurance. So I'm allowed to drive county vehicles.
Smart.
I have a Class F license, so they'll be like, "Hey, can you
Hey,
drive?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And
you
I'll
can drive.
book into the hospital. My battalion chief will come pick me up and take me back to my truck.
Nice.
So if we run a cardiac arrest and our Lucas goes from our engine, two of us have to ride in. Doesn't matter if you're a 3 or 4 man engine. Two of us have to ride in by our protocol because that Lucas is going to go. It's going to come back with us, and we'll get a ride back somehow. But two of us automatically have to ride that med unit on a cardiac arrest if the Lucas goes.
I'm just blown away that you guys are still doing the Alpha Bravo Delta Echo. Like, like we started that here years ago and then we got away from it because I don't know why.
Well, they just started it.
I liked
Like
it.
we didn't used to do that.
So the reason we developed it here, decided to do it here was because we have say we have 26 departments in our valley. Well, 20 of those are volunteer departments. And so with an Echo, it was well known that if you get dispatched or if you hear the dispatch and it's an Echo, it doesn't matter where you're at in the county, you could go to that call and help out. And you wouldn't get chastised for jumping a call or doing any of that because it was considered an Echo. And then they got away from it. I don't really know why, but it's just interesting to hear that you guys are going to it, and we've been away from that for a few years. So
My county
Well,
used to be
that's the
split like
new.
that.
That's our new protocol. I can't tell you why because it didn't used to be that way, but yeah, we go to that Echo is the biggest priority. Alpha, we don't. That's only a med unit. Bravo kind of varies, but we're gonna go. We're non-emergent to Alpha Bravo. Then again, the Charlie Delta, they're in the same category. Up to the lieutenant officer that's riding seat, whether we go emergency or not. Echo is 100% emergency.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You talk about 26 departments. Before '08, my county was 11 different departments. So.
And then you guys went county department?
Yep. So everybody who wasn't the main big city came under the Bullitt County Fire Department in '08.
Yeah.
And then it went career in 2019, our combination career.
And that's definitely something I think we need to do here. It's just that looking at it,
consolidates funds.
Yeah, it does consolidate funds, and the problem with it is
I get a lot of hurt feelings though.
100%. So you get a lot of these empires around that are like, oh, this is my thing, and a lot of them do really well, but some of them are just shitheads, and so you know, I've been taken off a run. Our department's been taken off of run cards just because we beat them to the scene. Like, that is such trash.
Yeah.
I'm sitting IC on someone else's incident, and then their assistant chief comes up and is pissed because I'm there. Like, well, I'm sorry, I'm on your run card, and then the next day we were off their run cards. It's just ridiculous.
Nah.
So it's just interesting to hear. It's interesting to hear the difference between my area versus your guys' area and what you guys are going through and doing. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Well, it's kind of one of those things. I think we learn from each other, but I think it goes back to what I've said before is we're all under the same patch. We just have different stories.
So true.
You know, we have different issues, but we all wear that same patch, and that,
Oh yeah.
you know, we definitely deal with a lot of the exact same issues, and then we laugh. We're like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Why would you be doing that? You know, but I think that's part of it.
I tell new people all the time, like, hey, go to classes outside of here, go to conferences, go talk to other firemen, because you're going to realize, like, you might think our department sucks, and you might have these gripes, these moans, and these bitches, and you're going to go and talk to these dudes, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, everybody has that.
Yeah, everybody's got the same issues. Yep.
Like, we all have the same issues. It just depends on what scale you have them on.
100%.
Right.
So, real quick, going back to because I think we probably ought to, what have you been doing this for about an hour or so? We probably ought to wrap it up pretty soon. But, so I want to go back to your presentation that you put on. Is that something online that someone can get? Is that something that you have to do yourself, or, you know, like what?
I prefer to do it myself.
Okay.
Just because it is so personal, and I've had people reach out and ask if they could, like, hey, can I have, like, I don't like that, just because of how personal the subject is to me.
Sure. And how long? How long is your presentation?
About 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how often to a tangent I get.
Not worth flying you 2,000 miles to come do it here, is what I'm saying. I'm just kidding. 45 minutes. That was a joke.
I'm going to Little Rock, Arkansas in July.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to Northern Ohio in like August, September.
Well, if you swing by Montana, come on in.
My wife likes going places, so like that's how I convince her to like let me go places. If anybody ever invites me and I can swing it, she'll be like, "Well, I just want to come with you." I'm like, "All right, bet, dude."
We're gonna have to talk about what it's gonna cost to have you come up here.
Yeah.
What
do you have? What do you know? We want to put that on the podcast too, like how to contact you, and if anybody's out there interested in bringing you out. Your story's phenomenal, and you know, I think it'll be, you know, you say 45 minutes. I know it's the first time I saw it was about an hour and 10, but there were a lot of questions and stuff, and I think in general people are going to ask questions.
Yeah, if you do questions, it can turn into an hour.
How are we able to? We would love to share that info. What's the best way to reach out to you to get you to come to some of these other departments?
I have social media. My public one, because if you try to reach me on anything that involves my kids, you will get denied.
Absolutely.
Love that.
So my public one is it's Ghost Road Fireman. Is it the Ghost Road or is it just Ghost Road? Give me a second. Yeah, it's Ghost Road _Fireman.
All right.
Ghost Road
and that's
_Fireman.
And that's my public Instagram. So that's where a lot of people can find me because, again, and I made a public Instagram because people were wanted to tag me and stuff, and I was like, "That's cool, man." But like, my kids are on my regular Instagram, my kids are on Facebook, and
that's why I'm separate all the time. Yeah.
So I separated it out, just so none of that gets involved. And then my email, which is just McRee2141@gmail.com. If you shoot me an email or if you shoot me a message on Instagram, I'll get back with you and I'll talk to you. I mean, I'm willing to travel. Just I just have to figure financial stuff out. Because there are a couple people who are buying my plane ticket and buying me a hotel room, and that's cool. I appreciate it. Not in any way, shape, or form trying to make money off of this, because that would be disgusting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to be paid for your time, though. I mean, that's the thing. You have to be. I mean,
it's not even so much paid for my time. Is I just don't want to go broke going to places. So, like, if you you split a plane ticket with me and put me up in a Roach Motel 6, like, I'll come out and I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, well, I got Glacier Park here, so you'd be all over the place up there. So, we'll get your socials kind of tagged on here so people can get a hold of you if they need you. I personally would love to have you up at our place to have you do this presentation. I think it'd be fantastic because I think that a lot of our area, we're not as busy as you guys. And we just train, and I think that it's. If we're not fighting wildfire in the summer, we're doing chimney fires, so.
And that's pretty cool though. Cause I talked to the guy, cause we don't do a lot of wildfire. Well, I run a lot of brush fires. I don't run a lot of wildland fires. Gotcha. If it gets too big, I call forestry and they ut a break around it with a dozer.
Right.
But
that's exactly what Peyton Owen said when we had him on the pod.
That was an aspiration of mine when I was younger, before I had kids and a wife, was I wanted to go work a season out west of, like, wildland firefighting. That kind of went away when I had kids, and I can't really sneak away for that long anymore.
Yeah, it's a tough life. It's a dirty life, that's for sure. But it can be.
It seems like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, but yet it isn't sometimes. Depends on where you're at and what you're getting paid. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your.
Thank you for having me on.
Story. I think we'd love to have you on again at some point. Just to shoot the
definitely,
shit.
Definitely.
But yeah, keep on fighting the fight. Appreciate you, man.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all.
Definitely, brother. We really appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking the time out.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure I'll see you at MAPC coming up here in a couple of weeks.
I will actually be teaching with Two In, Who Out. So that'd be pretty fun. Got invited with those guys, so
nice.
Which is
love that name.
Low staffed. Yeah, it was low staffed like engine and truck company search. So which is what I live. So
I'll be helping with the Craddock.
Nice.
With the Metro Atlanta. So we'll definitely see each other.
Nice.
Well, awesome, man.
All right, brother. Well, thank you again for taking your time out, man. We really appreciate you. Have a great night. All right.
Hey, y'all too.
All right, man.
All right.